All right, so we're starting 8.4 today. We're going to be talking about a lot of expanding and condensing. We'll be using these three properties, the product property, the quotient property, the power property. If you're trying to copy these down, don't worry. They're going to be on every single slide that I do today. Now, these are the things that we're dealing with. When we are expanding, that means we're going from here, that direction. We're making things larger. Instead of one log, multiple logs. If we're condensing, we're going from multiple logs down to a singular log. Now, a couple things you have to recognize. You can't do this unless they all have the same base. They have to have the same base moving forward. Otherwise, you can't do it. And so, real quick, the way you look at this is multiplication. If you're multiplying inside the log, that turns into two different logs being added. If you're dividing inside the log, that turns into two different logs being subtracted. And if you have an exponent, that just comes out front and becomes a coefficient. All right, so that's what we're dealing with, those three properties interchangeably. Now the first part, we have one log and we will be expanding. On the first 16, the first half of this assignment. So and it starts real easy with just, numbers. Log base 5 of 10 over 3. Since this is division in here, this is going to split up into two different logs. Now they both have the same base. So log base 5 and log base 5. Now the 10 comes first, since it's 10 over 3, log base 5 of 10. I'm going to put minus here because we're using the quotient property here. And then log base 5 of 3. So log base 5 of 10 over 3 turns into log base 5 of 10 minus log base 5 of 3. So there's really only one step there, not a whole else lot of work. Now, this one's being multiplied down here in number 3. If they're being multiplied, we're going to use the product property, which means that turns into addition of multiple logs. So log base 4 of 11 plus log base 4 of 10. Okay, so that takes care of the product property there. So whenever you see multiplication inside the log, like it's shown right here, that gets split up into two or multiple logs, same base, but being added. Now, this is a natural log, ln. That's the same thing as log base e. We'll talk about that in 8.6. But anyway, anytime you see ln, just treat it as a log, okay? This is a power right here. So we're going to use the power property. That's going to come out front. So all you have to do with this one is write a 3 next to the natural log of 6, and then you're done. That's it. That's all you have to do. Now, they get more difficult as you combine properties, okay? So there's multiplication happening in here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write log base 8 of 3 plus log base 8 of 2 to the 5th. But since there is a power on this 2 right here, we're not finished. We have to expand it all the way. So I'm just going to leave this log base 8 of 3 alone, but this 5 can come out front using the power property. So it'll be plus 5 log base 8 of 2. So that's going to be your final answer there. Manipulating these is really, really important to be able to do that. Now, I'm going to skip numbers 2 through 6 over here because they're very similar to ones we've already done. Now, number 8, I'm going to show you that one. Since there are 3 things being multiplied there, that's going to turn into 3 different logs. Now, there's no base right here, so that would be basically log base 10. But if they don't write it, we don't have to write it. So it'd be log 2, and since they're being multiplied, it'd be plus log of 5, and then plus log 7. And it would technically be log base 10, but we don't have to write the 10s in. If they don't write it, you don't have to write it. I just did that because I was bored. Now, moving to the more difficult ones. Here we go. Get after it. So this one's pretty tricky because we have a combination of the power property and the quotient property here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this 6 out front. All right, so I'm bringing the 6 out front since I'm using the power property. So this will be 6 log base 2 of 12 over 11. Now, we still have to expand this because we're dividing inside the log. That's going to turn into subtraction. But since I have this 6 here, it's got to be on both of them. So it's going to be 6 log 2 of 12 minus 6 log 2 of 11. So even though the 6 is out front, it's got to be out front here and there. So that's going to be your completely expanded logarithm, if you want to call it that. Okay. Similarly, on number 11, we're going to bring the 4 out front. When you bring the 4 out front, it's 4 log. Oh, hello. Must have misspelled the word log. That's embarrassing. 4 log 4, and that's going to be 5 times 7. Now, since it's being multiplied in there, ladies and gentlemen, you know what we have to do. We have to change that into addition. But since the 4 is out front, just like the 6 was, we have to have a 4 out front of this log and a 4 out front of that log as well when we expand it. So it'll be 4 log base 4 of 5 plus 4 log base 4 of 7. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you're thinking, well, what work do I need to show, Mr. Byrne? The exact work I did. You need this step first before writing all that. But this is the final answer. That's when you're done. Now, on number 13, we're going to first realize that this 3 is on the 7. It's not in here. So this is 7 to the third times root 11. So we have a couple different things we have to worry about here. The first thing, since it's multiplication, we're going to split it up into addition first using the power property. So it would be log base 5 of 7 to the third plus log base 5 of the square root of 11. So the next step we have to do is we have to move these powers. And I say these powers because there's also a power here. We'll talk about it in a second. But the first part, this will be 3 log base 5 of 7. Now, the square root of 11 is also 11 to the 1/2 power. So I can take this 1/2 and bring that out front. So you could also have this as your answer, or this needs to be part of your answer here, but I'll show you another way to write it. 1/2 log base 5 of 11. Since that was 11 to the 1/2 power, you can bring a 1/2 out in front. Now, this is not going to match the answer key. It's not going to match the answer key at all. So I'll be able to figure out who just checked the answer key and wrote all that down and not, because what they do is instead of taking this and multiplying it by 1/2, they just took this part and put it over 2. So quickly, if you want to check that, you can. I would prefer this as your answer because that shows that you actually watched the video. Good things. Then, similar stuff on number 15. This turns into log base 7 of 5 to the 5th. Plus, since we're using the power property there, or product property, sorry, log base 7 of the square root of 11 again. So when we're completing this problem, it's going to be 5 log base 7 of 5 plus 1/2, because once again 11 to the 1/2 power is the same thing as square root of 11, log base 7 of 11. So I like this answer better. Okay, thank you. Next up, okay. I've done something similar to that one, so you've already seen an example like this. You've already seen an example like this, I think. Have you? Well, let's try it out anyway. Anyway, the 2 is going to come out front, so this would be the same thing as 2 log base 8 of 5 over 3. And then this is the same thing as splitting it up. So this will be 2 log 8 of 5. And since we're using they're dividing in here, we're going to use the quotient property minus 2 log base 8 of 3. So there's that. Okay, now 14 and 16 require a little bit more work. I'm going to do one of them, maybe 14. So this is going to be split up. I have 2 things being multiplied inside here, so it's going to turn into 3 different logs. So this would be log base 6 of 12 plus log base 6 of 7 plus log base 6 of 5 to the third. There's one thing in here that we need to change. We have a power property right here. So this is going to be your final answer for number 14. Log base 6 of 12 plus log base 6 of 7 plus 3 log base 6 of 5. All right. Thank you very much. There'll be more on the next video.